as they come at the overnight time frame. So actually, it's great news for graduation for anyone who's going to be outside today. You're not even going to see a sign of storms. But later on tonight, overnight, that's when the storms start to come on through with damaging wind and hail. Taking a look at your dog walking forecast here. A little cloudy this morning, but still a great time to get outside up until, again, the overnight, when I hope a lot of people are not going to be outside during that time frame where we do see a good chance of storms. Partly cloudy skies overall, warming to the low 70s by 9, the low to mid 80s from 1 to 3. Rain time is going to show out the day today in general. Cloud cover sticking around here this morning. We're mainly going to be dry. I know it's a big day, high school graduation. So by the afternoon time frame, while we could see a shower, this is not what we're looking at for that severe threat. Daytime is going to be mainly dry. By about 9 to noon, we could see those showers linger across the area, even noon to 3. So I'm not going to rule out a chance of an isolated shower, but it's really going to come overnight again when a lot of people are sleeping already in bed for the evening. About 11 to midnight, you can see this line starting to make its way into the mountains, moving across Asheville, Franklin, and Hendersonville about midnight to 1 a.m., starting to reach the upstate, but really sitting over 85, dying down just a bit, but still pretty much intact. Around 2 to 4, moving past 85 into Newberry and then out of here towards the east. We're going to be drier for the rest of the Wednesday, actually just drier in general. But talking about those storm threats, damaging winds, heavy rain, isolated hail. Those are going to be the main ones. Can't rule out an isolated tornado specifically into the mountains. Franklin, Hendersonville, and Asheville. Areas in that burnt orange specifically have a better shot of seeing anything like an isolated tornado, but can't rule it out across the area, mainly again into western North Carolina. Damaging winds will be that #1 threat, and then again isolated hail for all of us could be at a risk for a strong to severe storm. Then we get this massive cool down after we get this front to come on through, so much cooler air into even your Memorial Day weekend, and we could see some showers as well. Now we stay mainly dry, but you can see picking up that kind of a weird time, overnight when a lot of people are sleeping, so likely going to be waking people up. I can say that unless you're a very deep sleeper, but we do have the chance of 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. that time frame of seeing some strong to severe storms. I mean, damaging wind and hail are going to be the #1 and 2 threats. It's a line of storms, and normally we do see damaging wind with those. I'm not going to rule out that tornado risk as well, which we'll talk about later. Now, most of the day is going to be dry. It's a big day, graduation, whether you're going outside for that or just to take your dog out, just know that you could see some cloud cover, maybe an isolated shower with some cloud cover out there. 70s around 9 o'clock this morning, warming to an 80, so another warm day. The 80s coming around 1, and then like that's when we really have the best chance for seeing damaging winds with it, if anything. Otherwise, we're going to be getting some sunshine back into play, cooling down, and it's going to feel nice into Memorial Day weekend, going from highs in the mid 80s to the low 80s by Thursday, and then mid-Chrysler weather day. For more storms, a chance of strong to severe weather overnight when a lot of people are going to be sleeping. We'll talk the threats and the timing where you live. I mean, majority of the day is going to be looking just like how you saw, so you don't really have to worry about the chance of strong to severe storms coming during the daytime. It's going to be tonight when actually a lot of people are going to be sleeping, which isn't much better, but for graduation's sake, it's good that we have a mainly dry day. But damaging winds and hail, they're on the table. How today is going to play out the next 12 hours? Well, we're still going to warm despite that cloud cover out there. We just have a warmer environment helping us reach those mid 70s around 10, 11, just before lunchtime. Low to mid 80s, even an upper 80 close to it for that high today. The warmest around 3, 4 o'clock with a little piece of sun and mix of clouds at time today in general. Now, rain timing will show you. Yes, we could see an isolated shower here and there throughout the day. If you do see an isolated shower, just know it's going to be in and out of here in about 15 minutes or so. The storms come overnight, 2 to 4 for the upstate. Just before that for the mountains around 11 p.m. that start time. It is going to be much cooler though as we go on throughout the week. And I'm First Alert Meteorologist Katherine N. We're talking about a line of storms coming in overnight tonight when a lot of people are sleeping. So this is why we have this first alert in place to make sure that you know what's going to be happening, what you could see threat-wise. If you hear these storms, it could be anything from large hail to damaging winds, and we also can't rule out isolated tornadoes. Certain areas have a higher shot of this versus others, which we'll go through here in a second. But starting with today in general, graduation is going to be happening, so it's a big day for those high school grads. We are going to have an okay day, mostly cloudy skies out there. We will see a chance of some isolated showers to move on in 9, 10, 11 o'clock. Drier, but noon to 3 still can't rule one out. Just very spotty, very light moving on in from the west towards the east. Could be even over straight up downtown Greenville. But that's not where we have the severe risk. It is this line of storms, this nasty looking line that's going to be coming on in just before midnight into western North Carolina. About 11 to 1 moving over western North Carolina into Hendersonville by about 1 a.m. on the cusp of the upstate. 1 to 2 moving over Greenville towards Anderson, 85 there into Spartanburg, and then 2 to 4 south of 85. And then that line's out of here. It's off towards the east. It's breaking down. We actually have a nice sunny day. Those threats, what we're looking at, I think number one, damaging winds. When you have a line of storms like we're seeing to move on through, you always get these very strong winds. You can see a quick spin up on the backside of this as well. So we do have a tornado risk into play, even some isolated hail and heavy rain. So pretty much everything is on the table when it comes to those overnight storms. Best odds for the tornado threat is going to be areas off towards the west, 85 off towards northwest into western North Carolina in general, but still anywhere you can see pretty much anything, exclusively those damaging winds. Then we get a brief cool down. So after that front moves on through, we will get a shot of some cooler air leading into Memorial Day weekend. So yes, it is going to be cooler than average, but it's going to feel nice. We're staying dry too after this first alert weather day. Up until Sunday and Monday, the afternoon and evening time frame, that's where we have our best shot of seeing some weather day due to the storms coming through overnight tonight. So today we're actually mostly dry. You may see a shower here or there, but the timing for that severe threat is coming tonight when everyone, a lot of people should be, if you're not, should be sleeping. 11 p.m. to about 4 a.m. So that overnight time frame with damaging winds being that number one threat, hail, and then we can't rule out an isolated tornado in certain spots too. So today, a lot of cloud cover hanging around, but we're still going to warm up to the 70s throughout the morning, the 80s later on, and even a chance of a shower could come into play later on this morning. Mid to late morning from about 9 to noon, we could see a shower from Greenville off towards the east and then anywhere across the upstate and mountain from about noon to 3 p.m. But those are not the storms that we are worried about. It is what's going to come tonight. This line of storms held together, will hold together pretty nicely coming into the mountains. The worst there from about 11 to 1, starting to diminish just a little bit, but still holding together from about 1 to 2 across the upstate over 85 corridor into Anderson, Greenville, and Spartanburg around 2 a.m. and then 3 to 4 from Lawrence towards Greenwood before it's off towards the Charlotte area and pretty much done with at that point, leading to a beautiful Wednesday. But how we're going to get there, we have to get through these storms first. Damaging winds again being that number one threat, heavy rain too at times with these storms and isolated hail, even a tornado risk in areas in the burnt orange and over 85 and off towards the northwest in general too. So this is why we have that severe weather day in place, or at least first alert weather day in place due to the severe weather risk. Cooling down and then also seeing a chance for Memorial Day weekend storms between Sunday night potentially into Monday throughout the afternoon and evening. We have that chance. Before that though, we do cool down quite a bit with highs dipping from the mid 80s to the low 80s Wednesday into Thursday and the 70s at least into the weekend too. Again, that first alert, you guys, I mean, we have graduation going on. Most should stay dry. Now we could see an isolated shower here and there, but it's that chance for strong to severe storms overnight again. When and why we do have that first alert in place because of damaging winds and hail. 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. This is the timing again of those storms that we're going to see. So the next 12 hours, prepare for actually a pretty decent day. Mix of sun and clouds. We're going to have temperatures warming, already seeing and feeling that, but getting to the mid to upper 70s around lunchtime just before. And then the afternoon and evening, the mid to upper 80s here for us. Again, a mix of sun and clouds with the best chance of rain. That timing coming later on overnight tonight. So still 6 to 8, and I would say even before that, this afternoon, this evening, prepare for a chance of an isolated shower, but storm chances picking up overnight for the upstate about 2 to 4. Before that, 11 to 2 for the mountains. Cooler as we go into the week, and then a chance of Memorial Day weekend showers, maybe some storms, which we'll talk more about later. Back to you. First alert weather app. We're going to be sending you alerts whether you could see those severe storms or not, and whether you're getting large hail, damaging winds, and isolated tornado threat, which is all on the table for us today. Again, 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. So overnight when a lot of people are sleeping. Now we do have the chance of seeing an isolated shower here and there throughout the day today. You know, I do think most of us stay dry throughout the morning. It's just going to be very spotty, very light, and it just coming and going very quickly too. Picking up a chance of a shower 9 to about the afternoon time frame, even into 3 to 6 across the upstate. You really can't rule out anywhere seeing a chance of an isolated shower, but that is not the severe risk. It comes again at night when a lot of people are settling in for the nighttime and potentially sleeping. Around midnight, we're going to see this line of storms to come on in. And when we see a line like this, it normally does come with a good amount of damaging wind potential. So we're going to see around midnight to 1 a.m. go through the mountains, sort of breaking as it moves through the southern half of the upstate. And you can see this moving over the 85 corridor from Anderson towards Greenville into Spartanburg around 2-3 o'clock, breaking up just a little bit as we go through the 3 to 4 a.m. time frame. Then it's out of here towards Charlotte by 6. And we're looking at a beautiful Wednesday really after this. But we do have to talk about the threats on the table. Again, that number one risk being damaging winds. Could see some isolated large hail. Can't rule out a tornado, and then heavy rain to come with that line of storms as well. So tornado risk is really going to be 85 off towards the northwest, towards the mountains in general. That burnt orange, that darker color, going to bring the best risk for any sort of severe weather. It's going to be lowering that risk as you get more and more towards 26 Lawrence, Greenwood, and Newberry into the yellow there. Then we get a brief cool down after this. So if the 80s have been maybe a little too much for you, you're looking forward to the 70s. It is coming into Memorial Day weekend. But what else is also going to be coming back during that time is a chance for showers. So yeah, we cool down, we stay dry, we get sunshine Wednesday through about Saturday, and then we get a chance of afternoon and evening storms Sunday and Monday, bringing you the first alert on this, and even a tornado threat 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. We're going to go through this timeline exactly when you could see the storms where you live coming up in a little bit. But to get you out the door, 60s and 70s, already off to a bit of a mild start here across the upstate. 72 into Greenville, 72 into Spartanburg, 73 into Lawrence towards Anderson. If you're taking the pup out this morning, just know you could run into an isolated shower later on in the next hour or so. Really anywhere across the area we could see that isolated shower chance continue into the afternoon and evening, but those are not the severe storms we're talking about. Temperatures rising to the upper 70s just before lunch, and then low to mid 80s later on today. Here's a look at this storm timeline. 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. for most of western North Carolina. Then things start to slide into the upstate around midnight. A strong to severe storm threat comes tonight, when unfortunately a lot of people are sleeping. It's going to be around midnight just before moving into the mountains at that point, and then by about 2 to 4 coming across the upstate with damaging winds and hail, your number one, number two threat, but also can't rule out an isolated tornado. So yes, we could see a shower here and there throughout the morning. Right now we're doing pretty good. We're dry, but by the afternoon, seeing a chance of a shower really anywhere across the upstate towards the mountains. A little break of sunshine, destabilizing the atmosphere, and then getting this line of storms to move on through. When you see a line of storms like this, normally it does come with a good chance of damaging very strong gusty winds, especially on the outside of it. But we're going to see this line barrel on through the mountains about 11 just before midnight to about 1 a.m. Starting to die down as it makes its way across the upstate, but still holding on to some strength with that chance of severe risk into play from about, I would say, 1 to 3 across Greenville towards Anderson into Spartanburg, and then 3-4 o'clock if you're south of 85 into Abbeville, Lawrence, and Greenwood before this is out of here and towards Charlotte. We're looking at a beautiful Wednesday after this. Damaging winds, again, that number one threat. And then we go to isolated hail, heavy rain, but even a tornado risk, specifically into western North Carolina. Really, though, it doesn't stop there. We could see it over the 85 corridor and off towards the northwest. Overnight tonight, again, it's a timing where you don't want this to be coming really to fruition for us. We are going to be clearing out after this, cooling down 80s, low 80s it is for highs, and beautiful sunshine by Thursday, so still warm tomorrow, and then mid 70s into Friday. So cooler weather leading into Memorial Day weekend, and it does come with a chance of showers. So we stay dry for the first half of Memorial Day weekend. Friday, Saturday, we're looking good. It's going to be Sunday into the morning time frame for the mountains, afternoon and evening potentially for the upstate, overnight really picking up that chance into Monday afternoon where we could see some isolated thunderstorms again. So bringing you the first alert on this right now. Otherwise, that first alert weather day in place today because of the chance for overnight storms that could vary winds and hail, even an isolated tornado, 1 or 2, can't rule it out today. Temperature is out there in the low 70s right now here this morning across the upstate, about 70 to 75 here here. 73 currently in Greenville, 69 in Hendersonville, 60s in the mountains. Your graduation forecast, we're going to have a decent amount of sunshine and cloud cover. Maybe we see an isolated shower, but no severe threat during this time frame. Warming to the 80s by noon and then a mid-80 for the afternoon. Again, rain timing showing it's going to be overnight tonight where we have our best chance of scattered thunderstorms, strong to severe. That better odds of timing here into areas like Franklin, Hendersonville, Asheville. 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Moving into the mountains, this line of storms that could produce very well damaged line of storms to come on through with potentially large hail. Damaging winds being, I would say, that number one threat, and even an isolated tornado cannot be ruled out. So starting this morning, we're off to this dry start. We could see a few isolated showers build here and there throughout mid to late morning into the afternoon. I'm going to say no matter where you're at, you could see an isolated shower moving through quickly, but that is not our worry when it comes to the storms. It comes overnight tonight, starting just before midnight into the mountains. So time frame for this, it's going to be about 11 to 1 coming on through this line, holding together fairly well through Asheville and Hendersonville. Probably could be waking up to those storms overnight tonight, and then also seeing them move into the upstate shortly after that time frame, about 1 to 2. So no matter where you're at on this map, you're going to see those storms 2 to 4 into Lawrence and Greenwood, breaking up just slightly. You can see at this point, but once it's out of our area, that's when this line really starts to diminish towards the Charlotte region. We clear out into your Wednesday, and you're looking beautiful after that. But we are talking again at multiple storm threats, damaging winds. That's going to be your number one. When we see a line of storms like that, normally damaging winds is that first threat that comes to mind. Isolated large hail, you can't rule it out, as well as heavy rain with that line, and even a tornado risk into areas, specifically that darker orange into Franklin, Asheville, Hendersonville, and just north and right over this I-85 border where we have that best risk of seeing an isolated tornado or two overnight. Better odds from that earlier time frame, again 2 to 4. We're going to start to at least see that line drop and break a little bit for us. Then we get the brief cool down coming into Memorial Day weekend. Just how low temps are going to drop. We're going to talk about that coming up a little bit later, more so how long that lasts, plus how long the dry period lasts. Well, I can tell you up until about Sunday into Monday, the afternoon and evening time frame, we do have a chance of potentially isolated thunderstorms. It's something we're watching closely. Monday right now looks to be a little wetter for the upstate versus Sunday. Sunday we start the day. This is not a storm. This is not our risk of first alert, severe weather. This is not why we called it, but we are seeing some showers into Chesney, just north of Boiling Springs, into this area over 221 off towards Landrum and Campobello area. And Inman as well, also seeing a shower. So otherwise we are warming nicely. I mean, look at areas down to the southern half of the upstate, close to an 80 already here this morning in areas like Newberry, Greenwood, Abbeville 75, 77 in Lawrence, 73 in Greenville, and then upper 60s towards western North Carolina. So today, expected day of a little mix of clouds and sun out there, and isolated showers possible, but it's overnight tonight where we do have that severe weather risk. 11 p.m. to 4 a.m., all threats on the table, and we'll talk more about this later. We do have a few showers across the area this morning. It's not really leading to anything. I mean, no storms. We're just talking about a good chance of an isolated shower to come here and there throughout the morning and afternoon. Things like this. Very spotty, very light from southern Green Creek into Fingerville, Boiling Springs, Chesney, and off towards Cowpens. Those showers are going to exist moving off towards the northeast over around 9, 10 o'clock. Another chance of an afternoon isolated shower. Again, very light, very spotty, but that's not why we have the first alert in place. It is what's to come after this. This line of storms, and when you see a line like this, a lot of the time it does come with a damaging wind risk. That's going to be your number one threat, but on top of this we could see really everything. The timeline of this moving through about midnight, just before 11 midnight, into areas of the northern mountains next to the Tennessee state line, but moving towards Hendersonville. This line pretty much holding together at this point around midnight, 1 o'clock, 2, 3 o'clock over the I-85 corridor from Anderson off towards Spartanburg, and then 3, 4 southern half of the upstate, and then it's out of here and pretty much dying down, moving off towards the east by 4, 5, and we're looking at a beautiful Wednesday. Again, damaging winds, that number one threat. Number two, going to go with isolated large hail. Heavy rain with this line could easily be waking you up as it moves on through, and then even an isolated tornado risk. So best odds are going to be off towards the west. It's going to be in that darker orange, but in general, I-85 off towards towards the north and northwest in general. Seeing that best odd for an isolated tornado, 1 or 2 into the area, but damaging winds again. I really think that's going to be your #1 risk, really across the whole entire area. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're looking at drier, beautiful conditions. The sunshine is back. We're going to cool down a bit though. Highs going from the mid-80s on Wednesday to the low 80s Thursday, and mid-70s to come after that. Memorial Day weekend, we do have a chance of isolated showers. Saturday, we stay dry by the afternoon, evening, more so evening, night into Sunday, picking up that chance of rain into Monday across the area. So something we're keeping an eye on here. Otherwise, this is the first alert in place on the 7-day is for overnight tonight today in general for those scattered thunderstorms that could be